Hi everybody and welcome to today's presentation. I'm Dr. David Moffet. We will be beginning in just a minute. For those of you who are here early, if you could please just let me know by typing into the questions box on the GoToWebinar control panel that you can hear me and that you can see my first slide, which is the title of today's presentation, some words in black text on a white background, the 3 big secrets. If you can hear me and you can see that, just type yes and yes into the questions box on the GoToWebinar control panel, just so that I know that you can hear me and see me. Thank you very much, Rachel, Jew. And if you've got a minute, just type in where you're connecting in from today, whether you're connecting in Australia, in the United Kingdom, even got some people in the United States of America. It's just turned midnight in California, and I know it's just turned 3 o'clock in Florida. If you can just let me know where you're connecting in from. It's 7 o'clock tonight here in beautiful Burrowang, New South Wales, which is an hour and a half southwest of Sydney on the way to Melbourne and Canberra. Just let me know where you're watching or listening from tonight. Melbourne, nice part of the world. Sydney, thank you very much for that. All right, let's get started. Today's presentation is titled The 3 Big Secrets That I Used Every Day with Every Patient to Build a $3.4 million a year dental practice in the heartland of Western Sydney, in suburban Parramatta. Though Parramatta did become a city during that time, or was a city, became a real business district during the time that I was there. I'm going to be sharing with you these 3 things today, along with a number of other things that I did during my 28 years of dental practice ownership in Parramatta, working in that one location that grew my practice from $120,000 a year when I bought it in 1987 to $3.4 million in 2011. Pretty considerable growth, and hopefully you'll be able to use this information so that you can get to your financial destination a lot quicker than I was able to. And at the end of tonight, if you're interested, you'll have the opportunity to meet with me personally and discuss your particular needs if that's something that you're wanting to do, if that sounds good to you. So thank you again for being on tonight's presentation. Getting my controls going here. I might just click off that distraction of me looking at 3 screens so that you can focus on the one screen there. These are the same 3 secrets that I've taught other dentists just like you to use to build successful practices and build them a lot quicker than I was able to. That's proven. The results that I've gotten for some practices are quite outstanding. And remember, I'm not some fancy blow-in marketer who's never had to remove an impacted 4-8 and never had to find an MB2. I'm a real dentist just like you with 35 years of experience on the tools. And I know what it's like to be sitting over a patient, thinking about my practice, thinking about my patient, thinking about my next patient, thinking about what's going on around me, but still focusing on the patient at hand. And for 28 of those years, of those 35 years that I was a dentist, I owned and operated the same practice in the same location in downtown Parramatta, New South Wales, right in the heartland of working class Western Sydney. In fact, when I left that practice after 28 years, it was more than half my life in that one location. Pretty interesting because I haven't lived in a home for 28 years. I think the longest I lived in a home was 16 years so far. I think so. Childhood homes, yes, 16 years. And the current home I live in, 12 years. There's a picture of me with one of my favourite patients, Mr. Fred Sargent. He was a Lancaster bomber crew member during World War II in London. You know, a true hero in the definition of the word hero, somebody who, you know, risked their life for God, Queen, and country. These results were achieved that I did, you know, the 3.4 million. They were achieved ethically, and we didn't use overseas call centres. And in fact, overseas call centres are being pushed as a cure-all. But they're not really a cure-all, because the problem is that you shouldn't have patients needing reactivation, because every patient should have an appointment, because that's what they need. So if you've got your patients coming back, you don't need to reactivate those, because nobody's ever slipping through. So therefore you don't need overseas call centres. So an overseas call centre is actually a Band-Aid cure for something that is a real problem, and that is that you're letting people walk out without appointments, and you're letting people cancel and not make more appointments. So we didn't use overseas call centres, and we never ever asked patients to dip into their super. You know, superannuation is for retirement, and you need as much money in retirement as possible, and it's not there for draining it for short-term gains with teeth. So we never used that as a lucky dip for our patients. These numbers were achieved by applying genuine, heartfelt customer service principles to our patients each and every time they came in. Now, if you ever look there in those 4 pictures, bottom left, that was our client lounge, 4 chairs. We had more chairs. We had 5 treatment chairs in our location, but we only had 4 chairs in the client lounge. There's a tip there, and that's part of our active dental team of 2009. Most of them there on that day. 2 dentists, 3 front office people, 1 hygienist, a couple of dental assistants at that time. Sometimes we had 3 hygienists for one day. Every dentist wants to have a dream dental practice, you know, one that works without stress, produces enough money so that you can live where you want, send your children to school where you want, do the things that you want, and not have to be worried about money. So to build a dream dental practice, here's what we're going to cover. We're going to cover 3 things that are really important. These aren't the 3 things that I did for the patients that's coming. We're going to cover business growth and production growth, because every business needs to keep growing, because if you're not growing, you're actually going backwards relative to other businesses that are growing. So you need to keep growing your business all the time. You need to have systems, and those systems need to be watertight. They can't be wishy-washy. They can't be weak. They have to be thorough. They have to be complete. And that's what a system is. It's something that you can rely on. And the third thing that you need to do is you've got to have customers, which are patients, and you've got to provide customer experiences for them. Because if you're not providing them with an experience, all you're doing is providing them with a commodity. And when they feel that what you're doing for them is a commodity, the only way they can differentiate between you and another dentist is on price. And there are no winners when you start competing on price, because the lowest price is just the closest person to the drain. And so when you start providing your patients with experiences, I wouldn't go anywhere else because they just treat me so well. That's when you stand out and are different from your competitors. But with these 3 things, you've got to do something for each of them. You have to maximize your business growth and your production growth. You can't just be meandering along hoping. You've got to be working at making sure that you're getting the best performance out of it, like the best performance out of your car, like the best performance out of your boat. You want to maximize your business growth and your production growth. You want to, as I said, make sure that your systems are complete and there are no leakage points. There are no errors. We all know the frustration of a clinical setup where something's been left out when it should be there and it isn't. We all know the frustration of a procedural system in your practice where somebody hasn't followed up on an important call or an important message to the lab, to a courier, to a patient. And we've got to make sure that our customer experiences are perfect. Not occasional, not average, but perfect. And when we look at business growth and production growth, there are three things that we need to do to ensure that we grow our production. The first thing is that with every patient, and this is one of the things that I used to do, it's not one of the three things, but it's just another one of the things, with every new patient that I saw who presented with a specific need, be it a broken tooth, a painful tooth, a sore tooth, I asked them a question. I framed them up as soon as I looked at the tooth, the reason that they'd come in, I looked at the tooth and I asked them this one question. And this one question became their anchor for everything that I did for them. And the question was this, simply, I just said to them, you don't want to lose this tooth, do you? And if they answered, no, I don't, then that was the reference point for everything that I wanted to do for that person. If they said, look, no, doc, I don't mind, take it out. My mum's got no teeth, she chews steak just fine. I'd double check. But if they said they wanted it out and they were convinced that that was what they wanted because they knew people who could eat with no teeth, who was I to argue with them? But most patients said, no, I don't want to lose this tooth. I want to keep this tooth. Can you save this tooth? That was the anchor. And so the second thing I would do to ensure that I had business growth and production growth was that I would tell the patient what's best for them to have for that tooth. I wouldn't give them a laundry list of options, starting with do nothing and working my way up to, we've got a pulpal infection, you need a root canal and a crown, or this tooth is so far gone that what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to remove it, and we're going to need to replace that space and hold that space with an implant so we can put a tooth on a bolt in your head. I would start with what's best. Because we all know that when we tell the patient what's best and what's second best, the patient always thinks that second best is just as good as best because that's why you're mentioning it. But every dentist knows the difference between a porcelain veneer and a composite veneer, and which is best and which is second best. And why we even do composite veneers, when they take longer, they look worse, they don't last as long, they feel worse, and they cost less. We charge less. There's no logic to a composite veneer. They stain. They don't reflect light like a porcelain veneer. Why do we even do them? The porcelain veneer is what is best, but we give people options. We give people without dental degrees options on treatment. I just told them what was best. And when they said, yeah, that's what I want, then we organise their appointments. And when you organise their appointments for what's best and they get that work done, that's called case acceptance. And so for your business to grow and for your production to grow, you've just got to maximise your case acceptance. You've got to make sure that every patient leaves with an appointment for the treatment that they need. And if they're not leaving with an appointment for the treatment that they need, you're creating a time bomb for them, a time bomb for your practice, a time bomb for whichever practice they go to when that treatment that they should have had done needs to be done because it's blown up. Now, I learned this lesson back in the dark ages of removing old amalgam fillings and finding letter mix bombs on top of pulps, necrotic pulps, that had killed necrotic pulps and started to calcify canals. And I couldn't work out why the patient wasn't given the root canal in the first place, because these letter mix bombs made root canals more difficult. They made root canals more costly. And the prognosis, the treatment would have been much easier if it had been done at the first exposure. But for some reason, letter mix bombs were what was put in back in the 80s. Now let's look at the watertight systems. What are the three things that we need to be doing with watertight systems? Well, I touched on this before. We need our clinical systems. How do we set up trays? How do we set up rooms? How do we tear down rooms? How do we sterilize? How do we stock rooms? Where do we keep stock? How do we make sure that everything that we need for an appointment is out so that we don't have to be going to drawers, going to other rooms? Because the patients are paying for our time. So the more time that we take, the more we look like we don't know what we're doing. Our clinical systems have to be an exercise in time and motion. No patient ever wants to stay in the chair longer than they have to. Have you ever asked a patient, I can do this filling in half an hour or I can do it in an hour, which would you like? They're always going to say, can you do it in half an hour? So get your clinical systems perfected. The other thing which I've already touched on is that you need your front of house systems as well. How are your phones answered? How are your patients greeted? How are your patients scheduled? How are your patients rescheduled after an appointment? What are your processes? What are your systems for payment, for booking new treatment? What are your systems for farewelling the patient? What are your systems for follow-up for the patient, TLC, after they've had a big visit? Are these written or are they made up? Do you get new staff members who turn up and do what they used to do at another place, which may not be what you've been doing? Remember, you can't go to work at the Four Seasons Hotel or the Ritz-Carlton Hotel and bring your Marriott playbook. You've got to play by the systems of where you work. And at your office, these are the systems, this is how we do things here. And of course, the last and probably the most important system is creating an ultimate patient experience. Have you analysed what each patient experiences from the moment they decide they want an appointment at your office to the arrival at your office, to the visit to the treatment room, to the checkout, and to the departure? Because there are, in fact, 5 building blocks of the ultimate patient experience. And I'll talk about these a little bit later in tonight's presentation. But all systems need to be complete. They can't just be partial, because every time you have a partial system, you create a defect and you will lose patients because of those defects. And one of those defects is making sure that you've got enough staff. There's nothing worse than telling a patient we're understaffed. We've got people missing. They're paying premium price for a premium service and you're dishing up understudies or nobody there. Imagine going to see Les Mis and the lead singer is replaced by the understudy, or worse still, the lead singer and no understudy aren't there, and they say, well, we're just going to sing it without those roles. But you're still going to pay full price. Some dental practices do that. Oh, this is Jenny. She's learning. We're training her today. Not a good system. Not a good customer experience. So let's talk about customers and customer experiences. And here are the 3 things that I did for every patient every day for 28 years that grew my dental practice. And I got my team to do the exact same 3 things with every patient every day for 28 years. And this is the differentiator, because a lot of dentists just don't do this. These 3 things. The first thing is that for every patient, you have to be their friend. And that's more than just being friendly. You have to treat them as if they are a long lost friend, a long time friend, a long lost friend who you haven't seen for a while, or a long time friend who you see on a regular basis and you love spending time with. You want to welcome them into your dental practice as a friend, because most patients don't want to be at the dentist. Have you ever had a patient who said to you, "Don't take this personally, but..." Nobody wants to be at the dentist. So if you can elevate your practice that everybody is so friendly that it's not like actually being at a dentist, then people will come to you because you're so friendly. They'll tell other people to go to you because you're so friendly. But you have to live it and breathe it and do it every time. When that patient turns up for their 4:30 appointment on a Friday afternoon, you've got to make them feel like you've been waiting to see them all day. You've been waiting just for them. You can't say, "Oh, I'm so glad it's Friday." Because why should they feel so bad that it's Friday compared to somebody who's come in on a Tuesday? Not selling the friendship. Second thing that you need to do for every patient who comes to you, remember, nobody chooses to go to the dentist because they've got time to spare. Nobody chooses to phone a dentist because they've got time to spare. Nobody chooses to go to the dentist because they've got money burning a hole in their wallet and they say, "Got $500 left over from the weekend. Let's see what I can buy at the dentist." Every person who goes to the dentist has a problem and they want that problem solved. And so it's your role to find the solution for their problem. That's why they're there. They have a problem and you need to solve their problem. They're not there for any other reason than they have a problem. And when you solve their problem, they think you are the bee's knees. They think you're the best thing since sliced bread. If you can solve their problem every time, you are up here in their estimation. And if they think, and here's the third thing, that all hope is lost, you've got to give them hope that you can fix whatever it is that hasn't gone right for them. And that's not, "Well, let's see how it goes." That's telling them this is what we need to do to get the result that you want so this doesn't happen again. Because again, nobody wants to keep coming back to the dentist. So when you be their friend, when you solve their problem and you give them hope and you create these wonderful customer experiences for your patients, you've created perfection in your dental practice. But there's even more than these 3 sections. There is a whole lot more. Than just the customer experience, the business growth, and the systems. When you achieve perfection in your customer service processes and you maximize your business growth and production, you create an increased capacity and production in your practice. And it's so nice to have that capacity and to have that production, because the problems of filling the production seem to melt away when you've got full production. When you've got full production, when you've got increased capacity, people don't cancel. People keep their appointments. And when people do need to change their appointment, there's always somebody ready to bring their appointment forward. If you've got gaps, you'll always have gaps. I hear dentists who say, we haven't got another appointment for 2 weeks, and the patient goes online and books in the next day. Kind of doesn't work. The second thing that happens when you achieve perfection in your customer service processes and you've got your systems that are complete, you know, your front of house systems, your clinical systems, and your ultimate patient experience. When you combine the systems and the customer service process, you get increased patient numbers. You've got more patients to see. And so you've got more choice in what you do. And that helps to grow your practice, having more patient numbers. And when your systems are complete and you've maximized your business growth and production, the result is that you've got increased financial security. Now, the interesting thing about this is that these have just been topics, but I want to diagrammatize these for you so that you can see more clearly how all these topics are interconnected. They're interconnected to create a complete system to create your dream practice. I'm going to play you a little video of how this works. So let's put this together diagrammatically so that we can see how everything is related and how, although we have these separate topics, nothing is compartmentalized. At the center of what we're trying to do is we're trying to create our dream practice. And our dream practice is here. As we said right from the start, we're going to build our dream practice with business growth and production growth. We're also going to include the fact that to run a successful business, any business, we need to be in control of our systems. Everything needs to be systematized, and those systems need to be watertight. And on top of this, because we're dealing with people, we need to make sure that we've got customers in our business or patients, and we need to be creating a customer experience for them. Because when we're creating that customer experience, we're removing ourselves from the field because nobody else is creating a customer experience. Our patients will choose us based on the customer experience that they are delivered by us. And when that happens, we don't have to compete on price. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to do this. We're trying to maximize our business growth. We want to make sure that we're making sufficient amounts of money. We want to make sure that our systems are complete. and there are no defects in our systems. And we want to make sure that our customer service is perfect, so that people keep coming back. Really, really, really important. And when we do that, that's when our business really starts to be different from any other business, and it just flows beautifully. So with business growth and production growth, how do we achieve that? How do we grow our revenue in our business? We do that simply by asking a question to all patients. Ask them that question. And that question is, you don't want to lose this tooth, do you? And when they tell us that they don't want to lose that tooth, then the next thing we do is we offer them best choice treatment, because we all know that every patient wants the best. But if we confuse them with multiple choices, they think that every choice is the same, when it's not. There's a big difference between porcelain veneers and composite veneers, how they look, how they feel, how easy they are to make. There's a big gap between first and second. And we want to make sure that our patients get to choose the best, because it's for them. And once they've chosen the best, then we've got to make sure that we have them booked in. And that case acceptance is that next step. Because if they leave without booking an appointment, we've done them no favours. In fact, we've done them a disservice, because we've created a time bomb that's not being fixed. And that is how we maximise our business growth and our production. When it comes to our systems, we've got to make sure that we have all our systems in place. They have to be watertight. They have to be complete. And there's three lots of systems that we have to focus on. We have to focus on our clinical systems, how we do things clinically. What are our processes for doing things efficiently, and what are our processes for setting up, and what are our processes for closing down clinically? Every clinical procedure needs to have a system. Our second part of our office is our front of office. What happens at reception? What are our front of office procedures? What are our front of office procedures for greeting patients, for answering the phone, for submitting insurance, for paperwork, for taking payment? Our front of office procedures need to be systematized, and they need to be watertight and complete. And on top of this, we need to make sure that we have a customer service experience, an ultimate patient experience for every patient. And that ultimate patient experience includes the 5 building blocks. Has to be complete, has to be watertight, has to be there in its entirety. Lastly, and most importantly, we need customers. We can't grow a business without customers. Our systems without customers are just notes on paper. And so for our customers and for our customers' experience, we have to follow these three things. And these are the three things that I did every day for every patient for 28 years to build a $3.4 million practice. And I'll teach you the intricacies of all these. This is the summary. But this has to be applied to everything else that we do. These are the three principles for keeping customers and creating great customer experiences. The first thing is that when we deal with every person in our business, we need to be their friend. They're not just a number. They're not just a name. They're not just a person. We treat them as if they're a dear friend and we give them time. The second thing that we need to do for them is we need to solve their problem. That's the beauty about working in a dental practice. Everybody who comes to our practice has a problem and they want a solution. And so we have to be mindful that we need to be solving their problem so their problem goes away.
Everybody, good morning. What am I saying?
And lastly,
Wednesday morning.
to keep your patients, your customers coming back, you've got to give them hope. Hope of a better life, hope of a solution to their problem, hope that they're turning the corner with their dental health. Because if they feel that there is no hope, then we haven't created an experience for them. We haven't created a loyal customer. And we haven't created any form of perfection at all. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to create that perfection. If we achieve perfection in our customer service processes and we maximize our business growth and production, what we actually end up doing is we actually end up creating capacity in our business. And we increase that capacity with more production, more business growth, and more customers. When we achieve perfection in our customer service processes and our systems are complete, our front of office systems are complete, our clinical systems are complete, our ultimate patient experience is complete. And what we do is we increase our patient numbers and grow our business. But we can't do it just on systems alone, and we can't do it just on customer service alone. The systems and the customer service need to be intertwined and interconnected. And when our systems are complete, our front of office, our clinical, and our ultimate patient experience, and we've maximized our business growth and production, then what we've created is financial security. And that's when we've got security in our business. We've got capacity in our business. We've got patient numbers in our business. And we've created our dream practice. And there you have it. Along with this, to build a dream practice, you also need to know how to build a well-structured appointment schedule that more than doubles your daily production. You've got to know where to put patients so that you maximize your time productively. And that's what I was able to do. In 2011, my average daily production was $12,000 a day. I only worked 37 and a half weeks of the year. I only worked 4 days a week. But my goal was 10 and I averaged 12. The other thing that you need to know is you need to know the key things that your front office people need to be saying, but they aren't. That will have all new patients excited and looking forward to their first appointment with you and hoping that you'll actually bring that appointment forward. You need to be training and coaching your front office team on getting things right and maximizing their conversion of new patient inquiries into made and kept appointments. And the only way to do that is to have somebody listening to the phone calls and hearing what gets said each and every time and working with the team on the things that don't work so that the things that don't work become the things that work. It's just like a golf coach. It's just like a piano coach. It's just like a singing coach. You can read a book on golf, you can read a book on piano, you can read a book on singing. But unless you've got somebody listening and coaching and improving you bit by bit by bit, consistently, and keeping you accountable, then there will be no growth. I touched briefly on the fact that you need to have the 5 building blocks of the ultimate patient experience. These are the 5 things that every patient goes through when they make an appointment, when they arrive at your practice, when they're waiting to be seen at your practice, when they're in the appointment and after the appointment. And you might think it's 5 things, but when we analysed the real reasons that people go to the dentist, we found that there were actually 57 steps in a complete system. And then for each of those steps, there are things that we need to do and things that we need to not do. And so it's a process of making sure that we get everything right all the time, because every patient will try to get out of treatment because they don't want to pay and they don't want to get hurt. But sometimes people say, let's wait and see, let's watch that. And that's not in the patient's best interest. We've touched on some of those steps already tonight, but there is so much more to creating an ultimate patient experience. And one of the key things in that is making sure that our handovers of patients between team members is perfect. That's one of the key parts of getting improved case acceptance, because a confused patient won't make an appointment, but a patient who understands urgency and concern for what they're going to have done will make appointments and keep those appointments. There's a lot to do in a dental practice, but when you get it right, you do create a dream practice. So let me ask you this question. How many of you have a better understanding now of how to grow a more successful dental practice? If you do, you could probably chat in the question box, just type a Y or yes, that you do understand that there's a lot to owning a dental practice, a lot more than just having 20 micron margins on your crowns. So if this is what you want, then there are three things that you could do. You could do nothing and just hope that things change. Or you could look at this information and then maybe try and figure out things on your own. And from experience, I know that that's actually the slow and painful way. And quite frankly, it's more expensive because of the trial and error that you go through and the time wasted in the trial and error. And the third thing you could do is you could work with someone who's already done this and has been getting great results for other dentists just like you for the past 11 or 12 years. But since you're still watching this training now, my guess is that you want to avoid the pain of trial and error, and you want to avoid the pain of doing nothing, and you want to quickly get some results that you can see in your bank account right now. So here's what I have for you tonight. It's called the Grow Your Practice Blueprint Session. Here's what you get. You can get a 20-minute meeting with me, either at my office down here in the Southern Highlands or via Zoom. And yes, I do live on acreage. And that is my part of my farm. And those were some of my temporary residences at my farm. During our time together, we're going to deep dive during that 20 minutes into looking at exactly where your dental practice is right now. And we're going to map out a step-by-step program that you can take back to your office and begin implementing the very next day so that you can make a start on those necessary steps needed to dramatically improve your practice on a permanently sustainable trajectory. At the end of the meeting, you're going to know exactly what your key metrics are. These are the key metrics that you should always be measuring that give an exact, accurate indicator of where your practice is at any given moment in time. And there's only a handful of key metrics that you need to be measuring. And based on those key metrics, we're going to develop a strategic 3-point plan specific for your practice to implement immediately, which is going to help you move your practice from where you are right now to where you actually need it to be and where you want it to be. So here's what you get. You get the blueprint session, which is the 20-minute meeting with me at my office down here in the Highlands, or we can do it via Zoom. The entire session will be recorded via video, and I'll send you the link so you can watch that video. That blueprint session will allow you to re-listen and re-watch every moment of our time together. Plus, with your blueprint session and your recording, you're also going to receive a written summary of the action steps that you need to take to successfully grow your dental practice. It's a one-page action plan showing you all the steps you need to take to get you from where you are now to where you want to be. So here's what you get. You get that 20-minute meeting with me, either at my office here in the Highlands on our property or via Zoom. You get the entire blueprint session recorded via video, and you get the one-page action plan showing you all the steps you need to take to get you from where you are to where you want to be. And let me tell you, if I were to charge for this, the value would be $4,600, but I'm not going to charge. This is a free opportunity to get this blueprint session. All you need to do to get that blueprint is to scan this QR code. That'll take you to my appointment book and organize a time for that 20-minute appointment right now. I know there's only a few spots available, so if you want to scan that QR code on your phone, it'll take you to my calendar and you can book that time right now. Now, for those of you that don't have a smartphone, you can click on the Book Now button. That should take you to my calendar, or you can even open up a new browser and go to bookyourchatwithdavid.com, and that will also take you to my calendar. Or to make it really easy, in the GoToWebinar control panel on the chat section, I am entering a link, so you can just click on that link and go to my calendar there. Now, thank you to those who have already started going to my calendar. I can see some of you are already there now, organising that time. You might be wondering what the catch is. And why wouldn't you? You know, why am I making this special offer? Well, since you're watching this, it shows me that you're serious about getting more new patients and growing your practice and having a successful dental business. So if this is what you want, like I said, there are 3 things that you could do. You could do nothing and hope that things change. And we all know that hope is not a good business strategy. You could try and figure things out on your own. And from experience, I know that is the slow and painful way, and quite frankly, far more expensive, just in time and opportunity lost. We can work with someone who's already done this, who's been getting great results for other dentists just like you for the past 11 or 12 years. But I know that since you're still watching this now, my guess is that you want to avoid the pain of trial and error, and you want to avoid that pain of doing nothing. And you want to move your practice so you can quickly get results that you can see in your bank account right now. As I mentioned, I'm passionate about helping dentists who really want to impact more patients' lives positively, as well as change their own lives. And like I mentioned, if we're a good fit for each other, after our conversation, we can talk about whether or not you want to become a client of mine or a client of Jane's and mine. If we're a good fit. But there is no obligation. This is what you get. You get that 20-minute meeting with me at my office or via Zoom, the entire blueprint session recorded via video, the 1-page action plan showing you all the steps you need to take to get you from where you are now to where you want to be. Total value of $4,600. It's free. All you need to do is reserve your time now. Go to bookyourchatwithdavid.com or scan this QR code. It'll take you to my calendar and you can organise a time this week. There are a couple of spots still available, and thank you to those who have started making bookings already. I really appreciate it. Remember, now's the time to take care of growing your practice, not in the future, not next year. You want to start taking action today instead of waiting until the corporates take a stranglehold on your dental marketplace and they take all your patients, because that's what they want to do. When you take care of this now, you'll be able to experience your golden years in style without ever worrying about running out of money, and you'll be able to travel, eat out, and help your children and your grandchildren live better lives. I'm ready to help you get started at no cost or obligation. So let's get started. Schedule now and get the 20-minute meeting with me, the blueprint session recorded via video, the 1-page action plan with all the steps you need to move your practice from where you are now to where you want it to be. $4,600 in value. It's free. All you need to do is scan that QR code, book a time, and let's have a chat. Appreciate your time this evening. Thank you for being on tonight's presentation. Everything's interconnected, as you know, and that's what makes it so confusing. Some people think it's just one thing, but when they think it's just one thing, they neglect something else that's just as important. It's a lot of related things. But when the process is simplified and you're guided through that process, you can get from where you are now to where you want to be very, very quickly in a straight line. It's that easy. Book a time, scan the QR code, go to bookyourchatwithdavid.com, and I look forward to talking with you and seeing if I can help you grow your practice. Thanks very much for being on tonight's presentation.